Hello Guardians, Kinkwalla here with my follow-up to my last video, which was a basic explanation and hypothesis of initial and final accuracy as well as bloom. So in today's video, I went ahead and captured some in-game footage in private matches to test my hypothesis that the initial accuracy cone has 100% accuracy within effective range. So let's start with some basic definitions so we're all on the same page. First, initial accuracy is defined as the fully resting accuracy cone of a weapon, in our case a hand cannon, before firing a single shot. Bloom is defined as the process of the widening of the initial cone as shots are fired in sequence without the weapon fully returning to a rest state. Final accuracy is the point in which the process of bloom has ceased and the initial cone has expanded out to its furthest diameter. Any subsequent shots at this point do not grow the cone anymore as it is capped in size. And finally, effective range, or ER, is defined as the furthest point a hand cannon can deal damage without any damage drop-off. In our experiment, we're using two hand cannons, the Vanity and Finale's Peril, which both deal 86 damage to the head and 57 damage to the body before any damage fall-off occurs. So today our goal is to better understand how initial accuracy works, how it interacts with bloom, and how we can use that knowledge to properly fire our hand cannon to defeat our opponents, while minimizing our chances of missing shots due to the mechanic known as bloom. I set up my control as the Vanity because it has a low base range of 24 and a low aim assist value of 41. I wanted my shots to be less affected by the aim assist system in the game. I also wanted to see whether increasing the range will also increase the distance of the IA cone. In order to allow enough time for the gun to return to initial accuracy, I will not be firing a follow-up shot until my assistant, Battleboxes, who is running a maximum recovery Stormcaller, returns to full health. As we are all well aware of by now, the IA cone is larger than the hitbox of the head, resulting in missed shots, despite both aiming in the center of the head and being in effective range. As you can see, as I attempted to move closer to the target, I continued to miss. What I discovered was rather surprising. It took me moving in a full 8 meters from effective range before I took enough shots to say, with confidence, that I could hit every single first shot precisely where I placed it. From 23 meters all the way down to 15. That's within a Stormcaller shotgun melee range. But let's go a step further now. I want to know if additional range will push out the initial cone in addition to extending the damage drop-off. You're now viewing my Finales with Rifle Barrel active. This gives it a range stat of 61, which, to no one's surprise, pushes out the effective range to 31 meters. However, just like the Vanity, it took moving in a full 8 meters before I found the weapon to have the expected accuracy. So what does this mean? What exactly do all these distance readings look like? What you are seeing is a still demonstrating the effective range from our target using our control. The Vanity at 23 meters, the Finales with hand loaded at 27 meters, a Finales with small bore at 28 meters, and a Finales with rifled barrel at 31 meters. Now you're viewing what I am henceforth calling recommended range, this being the 8 meter observation we have made through our testing. From our target, recommended range for our control is 15 meters, hand-loaded Finales at 19 meters, small bore Finales at 20 meters, and rifled Finales at 23 meters. Finally, I felt it was necessary to test whether my recommended range would be useful in practice. In this first clip, I am attempting to manage bloom by allowing full visual reticle settle back to initial position before attempting to hit the next headshot in recommended range. Unlike our earlier tests, I am firing my hand cannon much faster than before, but still not at maximum rate of fire. However, I believe this proves the point that John made during one of his early interviews with Crucible Radio, that pacing with hand cannons is crucial to your success in properly managing bloom. Keep in mind that while I am doing my best to aim for the center of the head, subsequent shots can potentially miss as our aim is near the edges of the Guardian's hitbox, which would result in a missed shot. All that said, I felt that you do not lose a tremendous amount of lethality for not achieving optimal time to kill by using the extra time you spend pacing shots to perform basic movement patterns in and out of cover. It is important to keep in mind that this experiment exists primarily in a vacuum and does not heavily take into account other factors that would affect the accuracy of a shot. Enemy movement, player movement, flinch, latency, these are all factors to take into account when not firing unchallenged on stationary targets. Unfortunately for us all, the game is not played in a vacuum, and many moving parts come into play for the final result. For my final test, while still in recommended range, I attempted to fire as close to maximum rate of fire as possible to simulate an experience closer to that of an actual Crucible match. This time, however, in order to take into account my proposed solution for dealing with Bloom by aiming in the center of the Guardian, I attempt to make follow-up body shots as close to center mass as possible. As you can see, over the course of kill after kill, firing in recommended range while aiming for center mass results in hit after hit after hit. As long as you are within my proposed recommended range, your aim is good, and you are not being flinched out of shots, your hand cannon will register at an acceptable rate. All that said, there are obviously many issues with using Bloom as a method of keeping hand cannons from being the de facto best primary weapon in the Crucible. But before I get into that though, let me first say that the purpose of this video was not to persuade you one way or the other to liking Bloom or disliking Bloom. So when it comes to the argument that gunfights and vacuums shouldn't be the result of RNG rather than pure gun skill, I tend to agree. I also understand that having one option being by and large the best and arguably only option isn't necessarily healthy for the life of a game. And quite frankly, as much as I am enamored by hand cannons, and trust me, my tens of thousands of kills with them don't lie, a Crucible where I feel like I don't have any other option just doesn't feel fun to me. Okay, so let's address my final point before we wrap everything up. Bungie developers have stated time and again that they like using Bloom as a solution to the issue of hand cannons being too good in the Crucible. Now, we as a community have to accept that fact, but what we don't have to do is just roll over and be spoon-fed food that we very obviously do not enjoy eating. That said, if business has taught me anything, it's that in order to get anything done, you need to first collaborate and work together to reach a solution. Both sides need to be willing to make compromises. Game balance is a conversation, and given my experience in other games, I'm glad it's well above a whisper in this community. However, the only way anything is going to actually be done is with well thought out solutions and counterpoints with solid data and evidence to back it up. This is a chart a fellow Crucible Radio community member made me to best illustrate our findings today. I'm going to use it to propose a possible solution to some of the issues we experienced today, namely that the two systems of damage fall-off and initial accuracy do not line up. I believe this is one of the major points of contention for why people feel so strongly about accuracy cones in Bloom. My suggestion is a simple one. Push out the initial accuracy cone from D2 on our chart to D3. This allows Bungie to keep their system of Bloom in place, but also provides the player with a better marriage of understanding on the proper times to use their weapon in effective range. Ultimately, this should provide the end user with less feel-bad moments that are the direct result of the initial accuracy cone being, well, inaccurate. I sincerely hope this proposition proves to be fruitful in continuing to create a healthy game environment and encouraging Bungie devs and employees to keep reaching out to us so we can build this great game together. I've been your host and resident Crucible scientist Keen Koala, and class is dismissed.